What's up, guys, and welcome back to this week's episode of the podcast. I'm joined by the man, the myth, the legend. Harry is back again, as always. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right, apart from
Sunday. He said it. Let's go. Right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about North London Derby. My first North London Derby. So when we recorded last week's episode with Kieran, who was absolutely amazing, by the way, and we're definitely going to have him on again, I hadn't got a ticket. Then Wednesday, I spent all evening while cooking my dinner, spamming refresh on the portal and got a ticket. Paid £105 plus a train ticket, plus food, plus drink, and the privilege to see us lose to a set piece. I'm going to start with the set piece, actually. We're going to kind of do this backwards. We're going to talk about the Arsenal goal, then we'll talk about the first half, then we'll talk about the second half. The Arsenal goal, positionally, I actually think we were a lot better than we have been, and we dealt with their other corners really well. But if you look at the replay of the attitude of the players defending that set piece, I'm not going to lie, in my opinion, it was woeful.
I saw the clip a lot of times, don't get me wrong. I'm in loads of group chats. So for me, I think that every single player there is at fault. Like, even Vicario, because Vicario, and we talked about this last week, didn't we? We did the combined 11. He doesn't come out enough to deal with set pieces. And that was one of the reasons why we conceded. And also just, I don't think we're that much better personally on the set pieces as you. I was looking at the set pieces. They did the same thing they did last year, where they chucked a load of players onto one side and they were going to run across. So I don't know if it was that much better. It might have looked slightly better. So the goal for me, unfortunately,
easily preventable. Again,
when it was going to happen, I was like, they're going to score now. Like, because 5 minutes earlier, I went with my dad, one of his friends, as I said, and I was like, we need to make a change. Like, Ange needs to make a change right now. And then 5 minutes later, they bloody scored. So I was like, it's too reactive. And then suddenly he decides to do the changes after they bloody scored. So I'm like, too late now, mate. But I hate the fact we're so reactive. We're just not proactive at all. Like, rather than trying to make some changes to try and push on to break through the low block, he waits to concede a goal and then he reacts. And it's like, mate, like, at this point, I just don't even know what to say. But for me, the set pieces, I think it's like they were ball watching. At least how it looked like to me.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And I'm like, who's picking up who? And then Gabriel's by himself, like 3 yards to header it in.
Yeah, I think the set piece for so long last season, this season against Leicester, we commented on the positional problems, and the set pieces wasn't down to the players, it was down to the players being in the wrong position. I think on Sunday we had the complete opposite problem. The players were positionally in the right place, we were covering the right spaces.
But that's the problem with zonal, though, because you're covering an area, you're not covering a person.
But that's my point, that if you actually looked at that, if you actually look at the sky view of that, there are a lot more. There was a balance of man marking and zonal. Key players were marked.
They have you son, but for me, I think they need to go on that training ground and just be like, say we're playing Coventry tomorrow, yeah? And say, what tall players do Coventry have? All right, Romero or whoever it is, go to this guy, you go to this guy. Everyone else, pick up the nearest man because you're about the same height. Rather than, because we were standing in zones. And so Gabriel could just walk past and just...
Yeah. Like I say, I don't want to. I want to see it over a bigger scale to see whether, because there have been tweaks to the set piece, not taking. I don't want to talk about taking fucking corners. It's fucking atrocious.
The short pass rubbish.
Oh, let's not even go there. It's funny actually. I turned to the guy next to me and said, "Short corners are shit," and then we took a short corner and nearly scored. But I think I don't want to talk too much about the set pieces from. I don't want to talk about it from an attacking point of view at all because it's just too depressing. But from a defensive point of view, I think positionally, I think there was a lot more man marking than what we have been. I think he's trying to find that sweet balance, have the zone also we can break more efficiently, but also have certain key areas marked. But he needs to put the right person on the right man, and they absolutely have to be switched on. And if you look at that set piece, Maddison switched off, Romero switched off. I think the only player from that set piece that didn't switch off was Van der Ven.
Yeah, but it's too late.
It was too late, like you say. So that's not a tactical issue. That's not an Ange issue. For the first time, we can sit there and say that wasn't an Ange issue from that set piece. That was a player problem. That was an attitude problem. That was a mentality problem. And I'm going to talk about something I actually mentioned on another podcast, but I'll shout that out at the end. But I think the attitude of so many players in that game was unbelievable.
I mean, personally, I hate
Pathetic.
the fact that Arteta.
Yes, right. See, that's what I want to talk about because I was asked about that actually on the podcast I've just been on.
Because he spoke before the game saying we know what the derby means, and then he went.
Honestly, that's exactly what I was going to say. I think the only player, hand on heart, in that game who knew what it meant to wear that shirt and that badge in that game was Mickey van der Ven. I don't think a single other player in that game proved to me that they know what it means to play for Tottenham in a North London derby. And Madison's lived in England his whole life. He's a Coventry fan. He played for Norwich for a long time, playing against Ipswich. He knows what rivalry means. But I'm sick of this chat from him. And we'll talk about individuals in a second.
Yeah.
Going on to the first half, I actually think we were okay in the first half. The only chance that really concerned me was Martinelli's chance. He should have squared it and would have scored. But other than that, I thought generally we looked a lot more organised defensively.
Johnson at the end of the half, remember?
Yeah. I think we looked a lot better defensively. I think we looked a lot more structured. We didn't look as open. Every time we conceded the ball, one of your biggest critics against Newcastle was the minute they got the ball and we lost the ball in midfield, you could see where the break was. Arsenal didn't have that. They're apart from that Martinelli chance, we had a bit more space down the right than I would have liked. Other than that, there was no key chances for Arsenal. They pretty much put 10 men.
Well, I remember Van der Ven was covering most of the breakaways, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the rest of the...
For example, with Saka, because Saka didn't really do much in the first half.
No, he didn't.
And because Van der Ven was honestly kind of on his side, he came across to help Udogie out. And on the right, Martinelli, apart from that chance, they didn't have anything. But I think Arsenal's game plan was to sit back. I don't think
it was, but also, how many times in the past, under Ange so far, especially last season, have teams sat back against us and then we've looked so chaotic and so unorganised and the players are everywhere. We didn't look like that. We looked like the players knew who they had to pick up. They knew what spaces they had to cover. They knew when to track back, when to go forward. So I actually think, apart from the set piece, defensively wasn't our problem against Arsenal. It's probably one of the most organised defensive performances we've had. It was the fucking other end of the pitch that was the problem. And so I think, before I get sidetracked, the first half, I think it was a well-rounded first half. I think it was cagey. I think the thing that reeked for me in the first half, Arsenal were petrified of conceding because then they would have had to come out attack and they were less space in behind and would have potentially gone 2-0 up.
And we were missing Odegaard and Rice, so the expectation for them to come out and attack us, for me, was a lot less because, come on, they're not going to attack.
It was, but even City have had injuries in the past. When they came to us last season, they came to us burning to win. Say?
Have you seen City's squad compared to Arsenal?
Yeah, I know. But if Arsenal are claiming that they're these mentality monsters that are going to go and win the Premier League, you don't go away to a team and settle for a point. And for me, Arsenal came there for a point.
They did what they did last season to us, except last season we gave away more set pieces, goals, and this season we only gave away one.
Yeah, I just think it from a general football fan point of view, if Arteta wants to win the league, I know he got 3 points, but I think that's quite frankly a bit pathetic.
They go to the Etihad and they do a similar thing. I got Atalanta midweek.
Yeah, but that cost them last year.
Not
they
really.
Beat us, but they won't beat City playing like that.
They got 4 points of City though last season.
Okay, and
what cost Arsenal was the Villa at home. That was the big game that they cost. He moved Havertz into midfield that game. And also Fulham at home, that cost them as well. There's a few games, 3-4 games where they should never drop points. But against City, they got 4 points off City. I don't know how much you could... going away to City and getting a point, the way they did was Mourinho-esque.
But if you want to win the title, you have to take 6 points against a team that you know are going to be there or thereabouts.
No.
Those 2 points cost them.
No, it's not those points. It's the Villa at home and the Fulham at home.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's like when you think about a relegation battle, if you can't take points off the teams that you're going to be relegated with, it doesn't matter whether you beat everybody else or not, because they're the 6 pointers that matter.
It's different because you.
I don't know, but either way, first half I thought was okay. We were afraid of playing the risky pass because we didn't want to concede, and Arsenal were afraid of their defenders moving away from the 18-yard box line because they were afraid of conceding. So I think the first half was just cagey, it was uncomfortable, whatever. Second half, the thing that annoyed me the most about the entire game was 2 things. Number one, I love Bentancur and I think he's a brilliant player, but he cannot play the 6, and I'll tell you why.
No one plays the 6 in the team.
So,
we don't have a number 6. We sold on
right. No, okay, not a 6 in your sense, a 6 in my sense.
Ange doesn't play with a 6 anyway. He plays with 2 8s, unfortunately, which is what cost him.
I think I might have just killed Jose. Spurs did that.
Killed Jose.
Right, I'm going to show you from a tactical point of view on this side for a second. Right, so when we have, I'm not using red, never red. Right. I've been wanting to do this for ages. Right. This is our attack. Left wing, right wing striker. The 2 8s. I'm trying to do this backwards looking at the camera, by the way. That yellow one is the holding midfielder, right? Yeah. When Basuma plays, Basuma on the attack pushes here, which forces these two into these spaces here, right? That then creates a closer, tight-knit unit to the striker position, which is why Son scored so many goals last year. With Bentancur, he was here, which meant in proximity to win the ball back, these sat here, which meant Maddison and Kulusevski were not getting into those spaces either side of Solanke. And if you look, the amount of screen grabs you can see where Solanke is so isolated because I don't think we appreciate how important Basuma is for this system. The way Basuma pushes them, the attacking midfielders don't sit behind the holding midfielder, so it forces them forward.
I think we still had the same problem when we played... as in Maddison, still taking really deep positions anyway.
But that's my point, though. That's my point. That Maddison was taking deep positions to try and create.
Not just the Arsenal game. There was games when Basuma was playing.
But this is my problem. I think Maddison is a problem in that sense, because if you look at how...
I don't think it's down to him. It's because what happens is, I know you're just showing the attack, right? But you're missing the inverted fullback to take up the space where those two players that you expect them to be at.
But then this is where they should be, we talked about it last season, this is where they should be making the runs beyond the striker. But they're not. Instead of going, because the inverted fullbacks are pushing up, instead of the midfielders pushing in here, they're just moving deeper. They're retracting.
But they're not.
That's why, for me, Maddison needs to be dropped at the moment.
They're not wingers, though. I'm not expecting them to go past the striker.
But okay, but let me ask you this question. Though. Dele Alli was a midfielder who started deep and then...
second striker, more like
right. And in this system, when that striker is backed up against two, red is a perfect example, is backed up against two centre halves. We said this last season. You need players to make runs beyond him, and they're not doing that. All Maddison wanted to do was sit on the halfway line and spring leftwards, rightwards. I made a TikTok the other day. To me, to you, to me, to you, to me, to you. That's all we fucking did for 90 fucking minutes.
But this is Ange, though.
It's not.
Ange.
Right, Ange did not sign a creative midfielder and tell him not to play a forward pass.
But this is down to him, though, because he's not using Maddison in the right way. And Maddison at Leicester played in a very different style, right?
Right, but why should the manager... Right.
Better runners as well. Let's not get that. Let's get that right as well. Get Harvey Barnes and I can't remember the other guy. But so he was... And he didn't have inverted fullbacks taking up his space, because those places that you put those players is the places where are occupied by the inverted fullbacks. If we're playing that way, David, you literally have 1-2 people at the back like before, and we'd be cooked if we lost the ball.
But that's my whole point. I said this to you before, though. The way I see our game plan is like 3 panes. You guys can't see this if you're listening on Spotify, but I'm using a tactics board. This is how I say, though. It's like 3 panes of bulletproof glass, right? So you've got your first line of defence. The bullet goes through, cool. Then it gets to this. Either these win the ball back and stop the bullet going to the next step, or the bullet goes through.
If you're telling them to push up that high, as soon as they win the ball, they're going to be like one ball. And
hold on, 2 seconds. But the way these players should smother them, they shouldn't have enough time on the ball to make those passes. In theory. I'm not saying it works fully in practice. I'm saying in theory.
There's no way you're going to have 100% of possession of the ball the whole game.
No, I understand that. But what I'm saying is when you lose the ball, it's about being reactive and proactive to go in and getting the ball back as quickly and efficiently as possible to stop the one ball through.
The turnovers were good for us. It's probably been our best thing the whole season, apparently. The turnovers are like our best thing. But we're not doing anything with the possession. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, that's my point. But what I'm saying defensively is when you have the 3 layers of bulletproof glass, let's be realistic, right? If I gave you a bulletproof vest that had 3 layers of metal sheeting, and you were told those, if someone shoots a bullet at you from point blank range, that will save you, right? Because one of the 3 layers will stop the momentum. If that vest fails and the bullet gets through, it's kind of accepting that if the bullet gets through, you're going to die no matter what. Stop the bullet getting through in the first place. That's how Ange sets up the intensity and the pressure and the aggression of his midfield. Now, it's not his fault specifically that those midfielders are not doing what they're being asked to do to the level of efficiency that makes the system play well. However, hold on. However, it is his responsibility to sign players that are as effective for those roles as possible. And Maddison is not one of those players. It's just simply he's not.
But then he says all the signs are his. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So don't.
I don't think Maddison was. I'm slowly moving into your level.
One of the signs he made doesn't work because he came out and said countless times. He said yes to this player, this to that.
Okay, but let me ask you this question.
And this is why I think the guy's just a yes man. Because if we had this discussion about Maddison actually before last season started on my actual channel with TJ, right? And we were saying, and by the way, don't shoot the messenger. He was saying this, by the way, to say that Winks would have maybe suited this system better because he's more of like a different kind of player to Maddison. Because Maddison obviously is a classic 10. I call it a playmaker / classic 10, whatever you want to call it. And he does better in a formation where he has actual wide, rather than fullbacks inverting in and taking up a lot of his space, and has an actual proper wide players, more probably traditional wingers, I guess, than inverted.
Yeah.
And that's where he got his success at Leicester. But he doesn't. I suppose he doesn't have any runners. You could argue because what it is, the fullbacks, in my opinion, the fullbacks are taking up a lot of his space, which is forcing him back. So therefore, it's like the positions he would normally take up. I think he's not taking up that he would have taken at Leicester, for example, because they're taking up the space. If you look at the beginning of last season as well, Udogie was taking that inside left, and then we still had the winger there, and then you'd have Porro really inside, almost in like they were playing as 10s. That's what people used to say,
yeah.
And that's what forces Maddison back because Maddison's not used to playing areas where he's not really a runner. So the argument for saying they should be running beyond him, I don't think it's ever going to happen because he's just not that kind of player. You could push that maybe with Kulusevski. You may have an argument with Kulusevski in that sense, but then you'd argue Sarr should have been doing that. But
would you not argue that's why Kulusevski's been more effective in that role than Maddison, though? And if that is the case, then and what you got to bear in mind, you say Ange signed him and it hasn't worked at the moment. Okay, fair point. But let me put this to you: Pep spent 500 million on
all the signs are his. So if we're gonna,
no, but what I'm saying is that right. Hold on, Harry. What you got to remember is a manager can want a player, sign a player, and it not work. Pep spent 500 million pounds on fullbacks. They were all his choice. And it took for him to get to Walker and Cancelo to get what he wanted.
Once it didn't work, he got rid of them the year after.
Okay, but what you got to remember is the rest of the squad isn't there. So what I'm kind of expecting in my head is if we get to a point where a year after we have good enough wingers, direct enough wingers to utilise the rest of the system, if Maddison's still being a problem, he'll either be forced to be a squad player or he will be moved on. I think we will get to that point.
Second year at Spurs now, and he's like 28, 29.
It might be his second year, but the rest of the squad isn't.
He's been in Premier League for how many years?
But what you're saying, if you're saying that he's not used to the system and the system's not got players out wide to play the way they need to play.
And number one, the invert that we play to open. I know we only conceded one goal. We play to open in general. Like the system is there's no number 6. We're probably one of the only teams in the Europe that doesn't play with number 6, and that's the reason why we're actually suffering. I think personally defensively, and then also the players we have do not benefit this system. Like he's not using, rather than the old Renaps and even Jose to a degree, and even Poch, I think you could argue this, he would use the players he had to the best of their strengths.
But I disagree with that completely. But I'll tell you why.
With the players we had, a 3-5-2 is literally perfect. You could put.
I don't get me wrong. I don't disagree with that.
Maddison in the 10, play wing backs with Dragusin, Romero, and Van der Ven, and then play whatever 2 you want in midfield.
So there's 2 points to that. One, I don't disagree with that because that's my footballing philosophy. That's how I would play the team personally. However, that being said, on the counterpoint to what you said, I'm very much one of those people, right? And people say, oh, it's only Football Manager. I'd be the exact same way. If I started managing an under-18s team or an under-21s team or creating my own football team tomorrow, I would be the exact same way. If you have a philosophy and you have a way of playing and you absolutely 100% truly believe it, then apart from ever so slight adaptations, like Kulusevski being moved into the middle, you are not going to change from that. And if the players don't work, you will get rid of the players and you will bring somebody else.
This is what worries me, though. We're not getting rid of the players that don't work with it, though. Really.
But what I'm saying is, right, so I would say once we bring, next season, our priority will be a left winger. We all know it will be. I would say if we bring in a left winger and we have another season and Maddison's still playing the same, then I think he'll be moved on.
We'll see, I guess.
I think he's brought someone like Lucas Bergvall in at this age now to go, I've already got your replacement. If it doesn't work for you, I've already got the player I want to be the next guy. And if it does work, then I've got 2 players that I can rotate between. I think, and I know it's only Coventry, and we'll talk about that, but I think we'll see Lucas Bergville and Kulusevski playing those 2-8 roles together very, very quickly, and I think we'll see Maddison dropped. Because, and let's go on to it, right? Before we talk about the...
As well, I don't know why he loves
Say?
Like, Ange just plays Johnson.
But, right, I've got a point on that, but before I go on to that, I think the whole Ange Arteta thing, I think is the whole Maddison Arteta thing is quite frankly pathetic.
Yeah.
I think it's so disrespectful to the fans. It's so disrespectful to the club. I understand the level of professionalism, but if you're going to do that, you do that outside of the cameras, after the dressing room, after the game, not in the middle of one of the biggest games of your career. I'm not having that. I'm sorry. And for me...
You remember when Højbjerg was it during lockdown when he ran near Arteta and Arteta
screamed at him for not being in the box? Like, I just think...
What I'm saying is he could have dealt with it that way instead of...
Yeah, waiting. There were so many other ways to do it, and I just think it was so wrong for that. If that had been against Brentford or that had been against Leicester, or no one would have given a shit. But against Arsenal, I'm sorry, there are 3 clubs you do not get away with doing that against. Chelsea. Arsenal, Chelsea and West Ham. And unfortunately, he did the worst of the 3. So I just, for me, Maddison has to be dropped now. That being said, I would play him for Coventry just purely for the fact that...
I've got a different idea for Coventry.
Well, okay, we'll talk about Coventry in a second. Let's finish talking about the Arsenal game quickly. So I think the overall performance was better, but I think that's because it was 70% better because the defending was better, and 30% of that it was better was the attacking, because we got to the edge of the box, shat ourselves the minute we looked at their goal, and then passed the ball around. And it was like fucking Barry and full chuckle to me, to you, to me, to you, to me, to you.
Do you remember the first half when they were passing, and Van Ven almost lost the ball because Havertz was pressing him? Like, we're still doing that nonsense at the back.
But he's going to do that no matter what. That is the way of passing at the back. I see non-league teams playing at the back doing the same thing. Yeah, but you can't. If you're playing at the back, you lose all momentum by just hoofing it. You have to play through the press.
There's a time and place to do it, but that was not the time and place.
It wasn't, but it is part of playing out the back. You sometimes you will have to just play through the press, and you will make the players better as a result of it. The more they do it. Don't get me wrong, it's a heart attack for us fans, and in North London derby, like you say, is not the best time to do it.
Was on the ball off Van de Ven twice, I think. One was a stray pass. I remember someone else did a stray pass in the first.
Yeah,
half.
And I'm not even going to talk about Werner. Werner's first touch when he came on was quite good, and 30 seconds later, he ruined it by playing the most pointless pass I've ever seen in my life. He was literally like the fucking Tories passing the election to Labour, or fucking Steven Gerrard slipping and sending Demba Ba through, or wherever the fuck it was for Chelsea. Like, it's just fucking awful.
At the end, he went with 10 minutes left. He go. I think he went fuck it. Went 4-4-2 and put Son up with Solanke.
It was 4-4-2, but it was more of a 4-2-4.
Whatever it was. Anyway, he can sort of fuck it and then just chucked. On and. Werner, and who was on the right? I can't remember. Was he Lee Johnson?
Odegaard, I think, by that point.
Odegaard came on the right.
I think the one thing I'll say, I think Basuma was a massive loss, number one. I don't think the atmosphere was particularly great, if I'm being real. I think everyone was so scared after what happened last time. I'm glad it's done. Let's just say that. I'm glad it's done. I will remember it. I'm sure I'll rant to my kids about it the same way I ran about the West Ham game that was 7 years ago, and I still rant about it now, almost 7 years later, but it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? I would say, don't get me wrong, that defensively, if we play like that for the majority part, I think we'll actually be okay. And I think our transitions backwards to support the defence were a lot better than they have been. There was a lot less space, a lot quicker time frame, if that makes sense. We were going from taking 30 seconds to close the space down to taking 12 seconds to close the space down. It was a massive jump, but that's great, and that allows you to only concede one goal. But the fact of the matter is, if you don't score, I'm going to sound like Mark Owen, if you don't score goals, you won't win games. It is as true as its namesake. If you don't put the ball in the back of the net,
two chances you could argue in the first half where you take too much time on the ball. Everyone's screaming at him to shoot.
To be honest with you, I think that's a little bit of just nerves with him. I think we need to play him into a bit of form. And what frustrates me the most, so many times last season, we spoke about Brennan Johnson and how many times he got the ball into great areas across the box, and we just needed someone to tap it in. We've got a person to tap it in and we stop putting balls along the floor. It's really fucking annoying. And I sound like a fucking 2-year-old. I don't care. It's really annoying. That's like me going...
I thought Son and Johnson were so ineffective, honestly.
Honestly, right, it's like me going, oh, do you know what? I really fancy some garlic bread to go with my lasagna. And then going out and buying baked beans instead. The fuck? Like, what are you doing? Quite literally, what are you doing? And I just think it was so frustrating because we were begging someone to be on the end of the quality of some of Brendan Johnson's crosses last season, which is why I made the fucking bet with you in the first place. And now we're at the point where we're not doing it at all, and it's just so frustrating. I don't
understand it. They had so many instances to shoot in the penalty box, but I was before the game. I don't know if you saw on Twitter. There was someone said that we have the lowest penalty box shots or something in the league, like we were 18th or something.
Yeah,
which is very bad.
The thing is, we're trying to.
I think that reflected in the game because
it did, and I think we were trying to create the same quality of chances we did last season.
Perfect.
But the wingers aren't operating in the same way, so you're not going to create the same chances we did last season. For all the criticism,
wingers, like Sonny's, for me, he's done them as a winger. I can't.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Question for you then. This is interesting because he still has some legs, but not to the extent of a winger. Yeah. Would you move him? Would you deploy him in Maddison's role
as a 10?
As a 10,
you must play 4-4-2 at that point.
That's not going to happen anyway.
But for me, like for Coventry, I'd play my team. I would like to see, I guess, Vicario. And I'm going Spence and then Adogi and then.
Hold on, can we finish just finalising the North London derby before we go on to Figgy? Because otherwise we're getting sidetracked again. Overall, I think, you know what? Piss poor. Positives, a lot more positives defensively. Attitude issues to work on from defending set pieces. Someone needs to take responsibility. More players need to take responsibility. And I think possession was in the right areas. But there's no flair, there's no pizzazz, there's no
chemistry, there's no cohesion.
Yes, that's the word. I went pizzazz and just looks as camp as fuck. There's no chemistry, there's no cohesion, there's no creative instinct, there's no flair in the final third.
I thought it was quite boring actually. But
I agree. I think if we played how we played defensively against Arsenal, minus the set piece, and we find that flair, that creativity, that attacking cohesion, then I can start to see momentum building. But you can't go from having defensive problems and scoring loads of goals to not scoring at all and fixing the defence. You can't have it both ways. Well, you can have it both ways because, it is possible. Trust me, big brain. It is possible. And I just think, I think it's less on Ange, apart from the personnel selection, and more on the players. It's like Pep said a few years back when he first signed for City, I'll get you to the final third. What you do in the final third, mate, that's up to you. Prove to me what you deserve to play. And I think Ange is now getting us to the final third effectively, and he's fixed the defensive massive exposure level, and we're a lot tighter, and we're a lot more compact, and we're a lot more, responsive when we need to defend. But the players aren't doing anything in the final third. So, yeah. North London derby, done. Let's move on. Coventry. So, I predicted 6-0 on the podcast I was just on. And my reason being, hear me out. There's two scenarios here, right? Number one, well, technically three, but let's go with scenario number one. We win 6-0, Solanke bags a hat-trick. He makes some changes. He brings in a balance of youth. He starts Archie Gray to push us further up. He starts Bergville. He starts Mikey Moore. Still has Kulusevski. Still has...
By the way, I think.
Okay. Well, still has Solanke. Still has... Kulusevski, brings Spence in, still keeps Udogi to try and play him in a bit of form, keeps Van der Ven, gives Dragusin a game, gives Vicario a game, and I think that will allow us to create a springboard and a foundation to go and get a result. Coventry have been poor this season. I think it's a real opportunity to build. We go and win that game 6-0. We can go into Brentford, win 2 or 3-0. Then all of a sudden, this Carabag again, hopefully another game and keep another clean sheet, score a couple of goals. And then all of a sudden, you're at United and your momentum's built. You go and beat United, and then all of a sudden, we've really built a solid foundation to build and progress from. Option number 2. We scrape 1-0 against Coventry. We go into Brentford and we lose. And it spirals out of control for Ange. And it will be a slippery slope from there. And I actually spoke about on the podcast I was on before. I think he needs to do something to rally the fans against him, whether that be a game, a performance, whether that be coming out vocally and saying something, whatever it might be. Every manager has had a turning point in their career where they've had to come out and stand their ground and say, I believe in this. This will fucking work. Get on my fucking back. And we'll go through this together. And he needs to rally people up, like Klopp did at Liverpool, like Pep did at Thingy. And he needs to do it in his way. Whatever way that is, and his way will be.
For example, he came out after the Arsenal game and he goes, "Yeah, I think we're going to win something this season." And he goes, "Oh, I was in stuff in my second season."
Like he's trying to instill that confidence, and he's trying to do it his way.
Win something this second season.
I don't know. We'll talk about that. We've got a long season. We'll talk about that.
We're not going to win anything.
We'll talk about that closer to the time because we're going to talk about domestic cups and stuff after Coventry. So. Option number 2, we scrape through Coventry, we lose to Brentford, scrape through Carabao, lose to United, and then we're up Schitt's Creek. Option number 3, he loses to Coventry. We haven't learned anything from the Fulham game last year. It exposes the depth. The depth isn't good enough, just like it did last year, which I don't think it will, but I'm just saying worst case scenario. Everyone gets on Ange's back. The stadium's
Toxic.
3/4 full for Brentford.
Yeah.
We get a draw or we lose to Brentford. We get a draw or we narrowly beat Carabao. We go into United, get battered against Eric Tenpence. And then all of a sudden...
Eric Tenpence.
All of a sudden, we're really, really, really struggling with him. And it's just it's one semi-okay result, downward spiral. One semi-okay result, downward spiral.
Tomorrow's game is probably his biggest game of his Spurs career, to be honest.
I think so. I absolutely think so. And I think he will play a balance of youth and experience.
He's cooked if we lose tomorrow. I think that's it for him.
I think with the fans, yes. I think the ownership want to stick it out with him because I think they do believe in what he's trying to do.
About like finishing in the Champions League, really.
I just think the long-term signings they've made in his name and with his thoughts and with his style and with his philosophy, I don't see them sacking it off till at least the end of the season. The only way they sack it off, honestly, is if we end up in a relegation zone.
We are 13th, though, to be fair.
We're not there yet. Listen, there's 4 games this season. Calm it down.
Like, I'm quite scared about tomorrow's game because Coventry, I know you said they started badly, but they almost should have really beaten United in the semi-final last season in the FA Cup.
They've lost key players since then, and they're just not playing.
Playoffs, didn't they, as well? I think last season as well. So they're not going to be an easy place to go anyway. I mean, I think Coventry and Spurs actually have history, I think, in the Cup. I can't remember what game it was.
Oh, my God. Mm-hmm. Sorry to cut you off, but you guys will have already known the result because this is coming out on Friday. Bayern beat Dynamo Zagreb 9-2 and Kane scored 5.
Oh. Remember, we went and he was in prison and we couldn't beat them.
Yeah, anyway, let's not talk about that. I'm trying to think. Man United beat Barnsley 7-0. Fuck me. I can't remember what I was looking for now. Oh, yeah, Coventry, that was it. Got sidetracked by Champions League. So Coventry have this season, they're 14th, won once, drawn 2, lost 2, literally got a -1 goal difference and sat on 5 points after 5 games. And the teams they've played are Stoke, they lost 1-0 away, beat Bristol City 1-0 in the Cup, won 3-2 against Oxford at home, drew 1-1 with Watford, beat Oxford 1-0 in the Cup, lost to Norwich and then drew to Watford again. Fucking hell, they played like the same teams, like 4. Oh no, that's Bristol City, but for some reason it's got the Watford badge on it. Anyway, so they've had a pretty poor start to their season, if I'm honest. So this is probably the best time to play a team like that. Whereas last season, the momentum built towards the end of the season. They had the confidence, they had the growth, the progression, and they went into the United game with some momentum.
Like us as like a springboard game. Like if they win this, they might get the league form back.
Maybe, but I think that's more. The onus is more on that for us. I think with the Championship side, a lot of them, unless they have the depth to go on a cup run, or they play shit like we did against Colchester a few years back. I lost some pens.
I remember that. Yeah,
it was torturous. Josh had no, let's not go there. Then I think it's going to be really, really hard for them to beat us.
My fear is though he might make 9 changes because apparently
he won't. He won't. He's going to make wholesale changes, but there'll be a balance still.
What I'll do similar to what you said. My midfield would be Bergvall, Kulusevski, and Gray because I mean everyone bangs on about Archie Gray, so fucking play him then at this point.
Yeah.
And then Dragusin and Spence, and I push Porro as a winger.
It's funny you say that, actually, because I finally admitted on Twitter. Did you see
And
me tagging it the other day?
Odegaard on the left, and I'd leave Solanke up front.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, did you see me tagging it the other day?
Yeah,
I finally agree that I'm starting to feel like I'd play Porro as a right wing and Spencer at right back. The one thing I will say is, and the reason why I think Brennan Johnson will start is because I think Ange is trying to play him into some form, and this is the kind of game. If we create the kind of chances that he was capable of creating last year, he could come out of that game with 4 or 5 assists. And at that point then, yes, it's only a championship game, but we have to look at the bigger picture. He goes into Brentford with some momentum, with some confidence, with some belief. And I think right now that what we lack the minute we cross the halfway line is belief. Not in the system, not in Ange, but in our own ability to create without somebody thinking for us.
No, I think it's partly on Ange, because the reason I say this is that I know he's one of the most uninspiring managers I've seen on the touchline, apart from Nuno, if I'm being honest, man. Like, he doesn't, like Conte used to be animated, Jose used to be animated, even Poch used to be animated more than this guy.
But you can't ask someone to be someone they're not, though. This is the problem.
But the problem is all the top managers are like this. Pep's crazy, man. Have you not seen Pep on the touchline?
Yeah, but sometimes I do think it is over-exaggerated. I do think it is over the top.
Even Arteta, I hate to say it, because I think he's better than Ange at this point, and I hate to say it like this, but you do someone on the touchline in the weekend, right? He's literally screaming direct at them constantly, stick to your shape, blah, blah, obviously, all this other stuff. And Ange's sitting there like this.
But in my mind, though, that comes to two things, because if you're having to remind your ADHD-riddled players that they have to defend properly, then
it's not that, though. It's not that, because you need, as a player, personally, I'm talking from a personal standpoint, maybe, if I want my manager to be like passionate on the touchline, I'm standing like this.
I think I'm going to screen grab that.
And even his press conferences afterwards, my dad made a point about this, so I think it's quite interesting. That he looks down a lot when he talks, in the post-match stuff.
I just think he doesn't like dealing with the media, if I'm being real. I think the media can be very patronising sometimes. And like that woman who was like, oh, you sometimes win in your second season. No, it's factual. It's a point. I always win. And then he got grilled in it in his press conference today. And he was like, I literally stated the fact. What the fuck do you want from me? Obviously, he didn't say it like that, but he might as well. And I feel like, you know what? He's having that animation but in a different way. He's got a bit of bite about him. He's prepared to stand there and defend himself and defend the team and defend the players.
Media, I'm talking about on the pitch.
No, but what I'm saying is, if you go into a game and you go, right, I believe in all my players, they will do my game plan, and I know they will. You're not on that case. If you're having to remind your players to track back and defend because Son's running at you, your players are stupid. They might be good ability-wise, but they're stupid.
Okay, so is Pep not believing De Bruyne and Haaland and all these other players?
No, I'm not on about like generally, because he was giving instructions to players at certain times.
Yeah, but
if you're constantly screaming at your players on the touchline, then
it's in-game management. That's what it is.
I think there's a fine balance between in-game management and being animated for the sake of being animated, and I think Ange has enough.
Klopp was mental on the touchline, right? And he won the Champions League and the Premier League.
But it's not. You can't. Someone screaming on the touchline does not directly invert to how many trophies they win. It doesn't. That's not a viable metric.
He's not inspiring, in my opinion. As a player, if I was playing for him, I wouldn't be inspired to look at him like.
Fuck you're not playing for us, because you would chat back about as much as our centre backs. Sorry, that was rude, but
I was like,
listen,
mate. Like, what are you doing, mate? Like,
players
do? You think I know what you're saying, right? But players in these big games, especially, do need direction, because we're talking about, this was the biggest game you said of Maddison's career. It's probably the biggest game of the season, arguably, right? Apart from the away game, maybe. I don't know how you see it. Either way around. And this guy's standing there, like, not doing anything. My dad always makes comments like, "What is this guy doing?" And he watched our team concede the goal. Then he finally makes the fucking changes.
I agree with the changes not being made for the goal. I think it was stupid. But I just think you can't judge. You don't know what's going on in his head.
And the reason I say this, David, is that his energy or his demeanour, his relaxed attitude does brush off on the players, which is why I made a point last season, and I still stand by this because I still see it now. We're just way too relaxed when we're on the ball. There's no urgency. Like, why do you think we fucking pass around the back?
But then there's been times though where he has been animated, has been aggressive on the touchline, and people have accused him of being over the top. You can't win.
No, I didn't. I was like,
I'm not saying you, but people in general.
But that was so minimal, though. Like, I think it was 2 games. I remember doing that last season.
Yeah, no, but it was in moments where it was appropriate. I think if you're doing it for the sake of it, he's
not doing it for the sake of it. He's doing. But
he was at one point in his when he first signed for Arsenal. When Arteta first moved for Arsenal, that first season, 2 seasons, when he was on the touchline, it was so extreme and so over exaggerated. He was trying to be that big character, that Mourinho type personality.
I don't think players. Papa Ancelotti has like a sea of trophies behind him in the top, like, Europe's top 5 leagues.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, if I saw him, I'd respect him straight off the bat. You take into consideration these players don't really know who Ange is anyway. Like, he didn't win. It's not like Conte, who won, titles, or Jose, who has. Everyone knows who Jose is. It's not like even Poch, to an extent, he kind of is a bit different because he kind of made a relationship with the players. So that's a bit of a different scenario. But Redknapp, everyone knew who Redknapp was when he turned up at Tottenham. Because he won the FA Cup with Portsmouth, which was kind of an upset, really. And obviously, he kept keeping them up. But like with Ange, I'm just being blunt here. Yeah? His only experiences in the SPL, which Brendan Rodgers just won last season, and Japan. So for me as a player, again, and I say as a fan as well, I just see him and think, I have to respect this guy because as far as I'm concerned, his record and CV does not involve winning titles in Europe's top 5 leagues or even achieving something of note. Like if Glasner, who won, Europa League with Frankfurt, I'd be like, this guy knows how to win it in the top 5.
But he's not over-exaggerating on the touchline. He's not inspiring. I understand the CV argument, but what I'm saying, you've made the CV argument from the touchline comment. The CV argument is a valid one. The touchline comment, I don't see it.
I would argue that he has to do more then to sort of play.
Yeah, but over-exaggerating yourself and dancing on the touchline like a fucking fairy does not qualify whether a player's inspired by you or not.
But when I saw Arteta do it, for example, in the game, his players were like fighting for him, basically. I don't have to say this. But like you could see them reacting to what he was doing because he's directing them to help. And you could argue he was helping them because obviously they were doing a low block, right? So they need to be in certain positions at certain times, right? Like Conte used to try to do with our defenders.
So what's that? Okay, hold on. So I'm going to imitate Ange then in Northland Derby. Cross the ball, you fucking twat. Cross it then. Go on, get in the box then. Stop passing it sideways, you fucking twat. What do you want? That is just so unreasonable. Sorry to anyone who's just deafened, but
that's not what managers say. You're just doing it from a fan point of view. But
I'm trying to say when we get into those final thirds and the players aren't crossing the ball quick enough and they're not decisive enough, I just think I don't think that's one of the worst arguments I think you've ever made, hand on heart. I think the argument about his CV and not being respected because of that, I agree with.
Ancelotti, all the top managers are animated. They're involved in the game. They have in-game management. That you could tell there's a presence on the field with them, right? And those players respect.
But if he was meant to be a presence, right? Okay, see, hold on. 2 points to this.
When I see Ange on the touch, I'm like, who are you?
Hold on. The one thing I would say is we do lack that leader on the pitch. I don't think Son's it. Madison's definitely not in, and I'm starting to think that Romero's not it either. I said this to my mate this morning, and he laughed at me because the example I used, he said, well, everyone will be good with this player in their team. I truly believe as one of those 8s, we are missing a Steven Gerrard type player. A player who can defend, a player who can attack, a player who can play a creative third pass, and is a leader who will rally that team. And I think somebody like that in central midfield, like Jordan Henderson was it for Liverpool. He was never the best player for Liverpool.
No,
Matt said this to me this morning. He was never the best ability-wise, but what he was he was vocal. He didn't need an armband to be a leader at Liverpool. He didn't need to arm the captain of Liverpool Football Club. He just did it. And Spurs don't have someone right now that will just do it. And we need to buy, and I think personally...
Someone buy one then?
I'd agree with you. I think our focal point next time needs to be...
I could argue the other way now, because doesn't that put more pressure on Ange to be the leader on the touchline then? If we don't have leaders on the pitch...
No, because if he starts being, and this is one of the reasons why I think he hasn't done, if he starts being a leader on the touchline because his leaders are on the pitch, that's him accepting that his leadership group was wrong, which it is. But what I'm saying to you is the best way to fix that is by just quietly bringing in the replacement and not saying anything about it. Let Romero go next season. I can't believe I'm saying this. Let Romero go next season. Bring in a midfielder. I personally would make it a midfielder. Bring in a midfielder or a defender who is a leader. quietly give them the assistant captain's armband, and then as you drop Son, the armband's given to the next in line. If Maddison's playing out of form, you're naturally pushing your next guy to be in the main leader. Does that make sense?
Well, I agree with your theory. If you look at our transfer policy, what's the chances of us bringing a leader in? Because we buy youngsters, so you'd have to buy an established player who's going to come in and give these players a massive bollocking, really.
I think it'll be easier than you think it will, just purely based on the fact that if that's the main thing, if we get, let's say we make it to a final, make it to semi-final, and we lose because of a lack of a leader, I don't think he'll have a choice. So I think in that regard, and what we've got to remember as well is because there are so many young players in our squad, there's every chance that a leader might be born through an opportunity given to a player. Because we don't know Archie Gray's presence on the pitch yet.
The personalities in there, that would be like...
No, bearing in mind, we don't see these players on a day-to-day basis. We haven't seen a lot of them on the field.
Like, for example, Gray, I did watch 10 games of him last season, and I wasn't like, wow, he's going to be...
This of this.
No, 10 games is enough of an assessment of the player.
It's not. It's really not. It's really not.
We usually told me, we should judge the Lanky after 10 games. So I'm saying the same thing. Like, I judged Gray after 10 games I watched him last season. I didn't think it was that great. It was all right. I'm not saying he's not going to be good in the future, but I didn't see a leader there.
I do agree. I don't think there was a leader in him, but I'm just making an argument.
Quite personality.
I don't know.
I haven't seen any.
I think it's going to have to be. I think our three priorities next year. Well, four priorities next year could be a backup left back, a starting left winger, a right winger, and a leader central midfielder. I think we bring those in. That's a top tier window. Anyway, we're not talking about next season's transfer window because fuck me, it's not even January yet. Brentford. So, okay, let's go for 2 hours. So what's your prediction against Coventry? Sorry, first. I'm so tired.
I'm quite scared. I think I'm going to lose on penalties.
Oh, you Colchester in disguise. Oh, you Colchester. Oh, you Colchester. Oh, you Colchester in disguise. I think he's going to
make like 9 changes or make the wrong changes and then going to fuck us.
Okay,
he did allude apparently after his press conference. After the game, his presser said they're going to be changes or something. Someone told me that.
Yeah, he did say there will be changes. Okay,
but that, for me, when he says that, I'm like,
Let's say we narrowly win. Let's go with that. What's your score prediction against Brentford?
We should really be beating Brentford 2-1, maybe.
Yeah, that's what everyone kind of said before. I think if we beat Coventry comfortably and convincingly, we'll batter Brentford. I think if we just about... I think we will. I think
maybe 3-1 at most. I just think Brentford will come with a game plan.
So my two combinations were 6-0 against...
Vissa and Buemo.
Vissa's injured. And Buemo's good, though, to be fair.
Yeah, I like
I said my two predictions were if we beat Coventry 6-0 like I predicted, we'll beat Brentford 4-0. If we lose to Coventry or we scrape by Coventry 1-0, we'll lose 2-1 to Brentford.
You think we'll lose if we don't beat Coventry?
Yeah.
And that'll be, yeah.
Let's not talk about that.
And then it'll be like Karabag. Oh, yeah.
We're going to quickly talk about the Europa League because that was actually meant to be the focal point of this podcast.
I don't really like the format, personally.
Listen, I played it on Football Manager all season, right? I quite like it, me, personally. Don't get me wrong, it's weird having extra, but I think I'm going to try and go to the AZ game, actually.
I hate to say it this way, but when I did the Champions League format as well, and I did the fixtures, there's the Champions League games on Thursday this week, but also, which is very strange, but also for me, I just think they put more teams, but the quality's just got less.
I agree with you, but that also aids the top seeded teams because they're going to get more points from lower quality teams. And one of those high quality seeded teams is us. Now, when I look at the Europa League and I go through the list, Athletic Club, I worry about slightly. Besiktas slightly. Ajax slightly. Galatasaray slightly. Lazio slightly. Man United slightly. Other than that, I think if we actually look at our fixture list, because that's all we can really go by at this stage, right? So we look at our matches for the Conference League. So Karabag, we should be comfortably beating them. We've beaten them pretty much every time we play them.
We should, but...
Fever and Akos, I think we'll beat them again. AZ Alkmaar, I think we'll beat them again. Galatasaray, I'd bite your hand off for a draw right now. I think we'll lose that if I'm being real. Roma, I think we'll win being at home. Rangers away, I think we'll just about squeeze it.
Well, there are loads of penalties tonight, apparently.
Hoffenheim... I think we'll win that game.
Never know.
Efesabor will win that game. And so really, I think it should be comfortable. It will allow us to rotate. It will allow us to experiment. It will allow us to tweak things. I think the Europa League will end up being an aid for us this season. We said it at the end of last year about rotating the squad, keeping the squad fresh, playing players into form. I think the Europa League is going to be key for that, and I still stand by that. For the three domestic cups and the Europa League. We're not going to talk about the league. Fuck that. The two domestic cups and the Europa League. We'll start with the Carabao Cup. Let's say we beat Coventry. What do you think we'll do in the Carabao Cup this season?
I think I told you this before. I think we'll get to like the quarterfinals or something.
I'm going to say semi-final because I'm fully expecting a Manchester derby or a Liverpool United or...
No, I think FA Cup semi-final. And that's when we'll lose that. Because we always lose the FA Cup semi-final.
Yeah, we do, don't we? I reckon we'll make it to semi-final of both and lose both.
And then Europa League, I think I said like quarterfinals as well or something like that.
Yeah. I think Europa League all depends...
I think mental to do it.
Yeah, I think we'll make it to semi-finals of both domestic cups. I think... By the way, guys, we're recording this on Tuesday as normal, so we've probably already got knocked out to Coventry as you're listening to this, which would be really fucking funny.
Sorry, guys.
It's going to get clipped, and that'll be the end of me. The Europa League, I think it's like anything in life. It's all about the draws you get, right? For those of you guys who watch my FM streams, you know, round of 16 with Wolfsburg, 3 years straight, Barca, PSG, Real Madrid. So sometimes you just get shafted. The stream we did on Monday, we got knocked out to Bayern in the Cup, 2-1 after extra time. Awful to draw them in like the third round of the Cup. It's stupid. So it is all about the luck of the draw. But I think with the Europa League phase going to then a playoff round, I think in that playoff round we'll see some of the lower quality teams scrape through. Anything can happen in 180 minutes of football. And I think that is one thing I like about the new format. I think it makes it exciting, the fact that you could finish 24th and get drawn against a team who finished 9th, just missed out on the automatic places. And if you get one goal at home and then park the bus for the next 150 minutes, then you could go through. And at that point, then you're playing someone who finished in the top 8. If I look at my experience in the Champions League on Football Manager, for example, the years that I finished first or second or within the top 3 of the top 8 in the Champions League, Real Madrid, PSG, Barca, whoever, finished outside of that. So they've gone through in the playoff round, and then I've ended up with them in the round of 16, being shafted. And the one year that I don't look like I'm going to go through in the top 8, and I'm going to go through in the playoff round, all those fucking teams are in the normal round. But yeah, anyway, that's the Football Manager stream rant over with. But I think that will kind of be how it plays sometimes. I think there'll be an opportunity for those smaller teams, for your AZ Alkmaars, for your Favre and Arcos, for your teams like that to really give the competition a go. And I think that will work in our favour. I'm going to say semi-final of all 3 competitions, but we lose at all 3.
No.
The reason I'm saying that is because there is a lot of crap in the Europa League, no disrespect to wherever you're from. There's a lot of crap in the Europa League. There's a lot of crap in the League Cup, and there's a lot of crap in the FA Cup. And I think this will be the year we get lucky with the run of draws, and then the first big team we play in all 3 competitions will get knocked out by.
It's very Tottenham.
It is, yeah. But to be fair, though, I think given the transfer window we had and us all feeling like it wasn't as complete as we thought it was going to be, I think if we make it to 3 semi-finals and let's say we finish 6th, I don't think that's the worst season in the world. There's actual active foundations to move from then. Do you know what I mean?
Get knocked out tomorrow.
Then forget I ever said anything. I'm going to bury myself in a dirt hole and get run over by a train and whatever.
We should take one game at a time, really.
Yeah.
We have to manage the squad, though.
Yeah. I think tomorrow is the most must-win game he's had in his Spurs career.
Yeah. If he doesn't win tomorrow, then
it's going to get very toxic very quickly.
He especially makes 9 changes. I think Twitter's going to go nuts, you know.
Yeah, because it was shown he didn't learn from last year.
Yeah. Or if he makes like too many, chucks.
He needs to pay respect to Coventry as well.
Yeah,
you know they are still a professional football club.
I don't like how Ange comes across as like almost. I understand if it was Jose, but it comes across as almost too arrogant. I'm like, you have no experience in the Premier League till you turned up at Tottenham, and he's talking like, oh, I do this, I do that. Yes, mate, this, that. And I'm like. Show some respect, mate. Know where you at.
And on that topic, mate, I don't think there's anything else to cover really.
Yeah, I think. All right.
So you're saying quarter final of everything. I'm saying semi final.
No, I said semi-final FA Cup because it's Tottenham.
Yeah.
Quarter-finals of Europa, I think we'll get to quarters.
And quarter finals of the League Cup.
Yeah.
Unless we get knocked out to Coventry. Up the Cov.
It's interesting you say Madison might play because he used to be at Coventry. I don't know if that thing's a factor, really. I don't know.
I think out of nostalgia, I would play him. But anyway.
I'd rather see like a midfield three we said. Like,
yeah, I'd agree with you. But what I'd rather see and what I'd get are two different things. I'd rather see £1 million in my bank account. And
Lancashire in there and all players like that. Can you imagine?
Yeah. What was I going to say? So before we recorded this, so you guys will see this on Thursday, and it would have got out on Tuesday or Wednesday. I went on the Hotspur Way podcast.
Hotspur Way, yeah.
With Hannah and those guys over there. It was a real good laugh. A lot more stupid, slightly non-Spurs related questions than what we get on here. So it was a really good laugh. Go over there, show those guys some love. They are absolutely fantastic. They've been trying to get me into Con for ages. We had all sorts of internet problems, but they're going to edit it and whatever. So the link to that podcast, that episode with me on it, will be in the description. So go over there and check that out. I'm only going to put it in the description for the one video, so check it out. Thank you guys for this.
Guys, if you're watching this and you went to my channel to subscribe for some reason from here, I don't know, my subscriber count went up a lot this week. Please guys subscribe for it as well. Yeah. And
yes. Yeah, Harry stuff's in there. And Harry's finally, I'll let him promote his podcast now. He's finally started mentioning ours on his stuff on a Friday or whatever. We'll have to get one of your lads on here at some point.
He's no holds barred. I don't know if you can do a Tuesday night though. I don't know.
Next week. I don't know. So, obviously, by the time we've done this, Brentford and Coventry would have been played.
You have Karabag and United, isn't
there? Let me have a look.
I think it's Karabag and United, isn't it? Yeah, it is United.
No, so we don't play United until the 15th. Oh, no, I'm looking at the wrong United game. Hold on. We play United on the 29th, which is next Sunday. Yeah, so we'll preview the United game next week. We'll talk about the other two and we'll preview the United and Carabao game. Well. Next week, guys, you are going to have to bear with me because I'm working the morning shift next week. I've got to be up at like 4 o'clock in the morning. So I'm going to come home at 2:30, have a nap, and then wake up, have dinner, and then record the podcast. So I'm a little bit more tired and whatever, then just bear with me.
Hopefully not a lot happens and we just smoothly.
And it's nice and easy, yeah. But other than that, we are going to plan in, because I don't really know what interesting games we've got after United coming up straight away.
Is that the international break again, or is it we've got games?
No, there's Fenerbahce and Brighton, and then we play West Ham. And then there's an international break, and then we play West Ham.
I know there's one international break coming out in October.
There is a guy that I want to get on, West Ham fan I know really well. I want to get on for the West Ham one. In the international break, after the Man United one, I can't lie, I'm not really asked about previewing the other two, so I think we'll have another Guess Who, because Kieran's dying to come back on and do a Guess Who, and it's so much fun. And I think we just need a break, just to chill, just to relax.
If by that point it's going to pot, then we're probably going to need to do a show like that, because...
Yeah, just to uplift. And we are going to try and think of some more creative ones. We might have to do like a tic-tac-toe with like the players alongside nationalities, whatever. I don't know. We'll think of something, but we'll do a Guess Who. We'll get Kieran on for that one. That'll be a good laugh. If you are a Spurs fan and you want to come on, drop one of us a message, either one of us, and we'll reply in due course. But other than that, it's great. It's good. We lost, is what it is.
I mean, hopefully we'll beat Coventry tomorrow, and I'm wrong.
Yeah, and then hopefully listen, 6-0 Coventry, 4-0 Brighton. I'm a winner. Apart from the fact I wouldn't have put a bet on it. And we come into the podcast high as a kite. Lose to Coventry, lose to Brentford. This can is going to be a bottle of vodka. So, yeah. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, drop us a 5-star review on Spotify. That'd be much appreciated. For those of you guys that still don't know, I play Football Manager. David Spurs FM, who would have guessed? I play Football Manager now on a Monday, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Currently in our 6th season with Wolfsburg. I actually bought the home kit the other day for the technically last seasons, because that's when the save would have started. I actually bought the Wolfsburg kit.
Honestly, they have a really nice kit.
It's banging. I really love it. We are currently, as I'm recording this, we got knocked out of the cup against Bayern yesterday in extra time. Champions League is going a bit meth this season for the first time. which means we'll probably win it. And in the league, halfway mark, we've played Brighton. We've played Bayern away, and we won with 35 games unbeaten back in the last season and this season, and with 16 games unbeaten in the league this season so far.
Basically, yeah.
Shh, don't say nothing. So we're getting there slowly, but it's a really good fun. We've got a great community over there. So come over there and check it out. Check out Harry's stuff. Check out my TikTok for some really, really stupid TikToks to you. And other than that, as always, up the fucking Spurs. Come on, Tottenham.